Fam, what is going on? It is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for being here today on Bama Football on YouTube. Give you a little teaser of what's to come on the show today. You got Keanu Koht. He entered the transfer portal yesterday. We will dive into it. Talk about Alabama being number 7 in the college football playoff rankings, seeded 9th. Dive into that as well. The NFL mock draft. Starting to look at the NFL mock draft, I'm not going to lie, for 2025. Bama basketball in action, taking on Illinois tonight. Michael Carroll on Flip Watch. Talk about it. And Alabama favored by 14 against Oklahoma. Other popular topics we're talking about, of course, the playoff football rankings, the college football schedule for this coming weekend. Why play in a conference? I think Notre Dame has figured something out. What was to happen if you had a 10-3 Bama at the end of the season versus a 10-2 Tennessee? Indiana versus Ohio State, that's the college football game of the week. And contenders continue to be exposed. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much. Think about becoming a fan funder to Bama Football on YouTube. It helps me as a content creator. I wouldn't be here without you. You guys have allowed me to do what I love to do, which is create content, talk Alabama Crimson Tide football, and I really appreciate it. So there is a link pinned in the description box. I'll put it at the bottom of this video to give you an opportunity to become a fan funder. Just $2.99. I think that's the lowest price to support the channel. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for your consideration in terms of being a fan funder. Also, if you hit the thumbs up, I'm not sure why, but it helps the channel grow. Those are things that we don't often talk about. I think it's important that you guys continue to hit that thumbs up. So thank you very much for being here today on Wednesday's show. Today is November 20th, and the time is 10:03, and I hope you're off to an amazing start. And I just wanted to say something too. You know, I love to be positive, and I hope that some of my energy gets into you. So before we start today's show, you know, if you're going out through anything, like, continue to fight through it. Like, just be a good person. And my wish for you guys this week is for you guys to have an amazing start. All right. And I say that because I think sometimes we get caught, like, one of the places you can get trapped in life is, like, if you start looking at, like, too much social media and stuff like that, like, you're fine. Like, look at your life is beautiful, right? Just a little positivity for you to start the day. All right. With that said, let's talk about Keanu Koht hitting the transfer portal. All right. That was something major that happened. Before we do that, I always forget. We got to go to the away game day forecast, brought to you in part by North Alabama Storm Chase, a YouTube, Facebook channel, which you should follow. I think he's going to start having a call-in show to talk weather on the weekends, which I'm excited about. Tailgate. 65 degrees in Norman, Oklahoma. Game time kick is 60 degrees, and the fourth quarter 56. Kickoff time is 6:30, which probably means on ESPN. That's one of the things that I've learned with ESPN. The times, because, and I somewhat understand it. I've never been in TV, but I would imagine that, you know, it's like a 6:42 start. Just because of TV and the way that things go. Like, ESPN is never on time with their programming, but it's TV, it's events, whatever. So I appreciate you guys being here for that. That's the game day forecast. Keanu Koht transferred, or he at least filed the paperwork to be in the transfer portal at the end of the season. Let me ask you right now inside the comment box, on a scale of 1 to 10, right now at this very point in time, how impactful do you think this is to Alabama's defense, to the depth at the wolf position? Right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being it's very impactful, 1 being not so much. I think it's a little bit impactful, to be honest, because of the depth. I'm about to showcase you the depth at the position. I still think you're in a fine position. Chris is saying 6. Max Tooney's saying -1. Case saying 0. He was a player that probably wasn't playing up to his ability. I mean, one thing that stands out, only 5 tackles in 7 games, as you can see. And we started to understand that things were kind of falling off the rails when we saw that he didn't travel with the team to Baton Rouge. There's all sorts of rumors that you can chase onto why he got suspended and stuff like that. I'm not going to dive into that because I do not know any of that stuff. I kind of stay in my lane in terms of what we're talking about. But there's a bunch of different rumors and whatnot in terms of why he got suspended. But the facts that I do know are he didn't travel with the team. So people, the team reporters, of course, the guys who traveled to the game, like a Charlie Potter, a Tony Tsoukalis, Katie Wyndham, she's a great one from Bama Central, started to notice that he wasn't with the team on the trip to LSU. Following that week, Coach Kalen DeBoer says that he's been suspended, right? Didn't go into it, just said he was suspended for the game against Mercer. And then going into this game against Oklahoma, he announces that he's filing the paperwork to go to the NCAA transfer portal. So he can't leave like right now, pack his bags. I'm sure he can leave if he wanted to, but in terms of like transferring somewhere else, can't do that till the end of the season. That's how it works. So you have two guys that have hit the transfer portal from October and November, and that is Jaheim Otis and then Keanu Koht. You know, I can't help but wonder if that has to do with the bottom list right there. If players don't play, they leave. I don't know. I mean, I have no intel on that. But I think we live in a society, and the way that college football is framed right now, that if you don't play here, you can play somewhere else. And I think specifically like with the player like Jaheim Otis, I was so excited about him coming back from his injury from last season, because a couple years ago, he was playing at a very high level. And I thought he would be a productive defensive lineman, but I think what happened was he got passed up by other guys. No one's ever going to say, I'm leaving because of playing time. But they're going to say, you know, like the one thing that I didn't agree with Keanu Koht is that he's outgrown his shoes here. That's hard to say when you haven't really played here. And I think the things, honestly, for Keanu Koht, I think that they are going to work out based on his skill set if he gets into the right program. Coach Saban said something that I always remember, that he has data that when players transfer from here to there, it sets them back in terms of graduation. You know, when we talk about these players, we hope that things work out for them going forward. But the grass isn't always greener, right? And if you don't take care of your grass on this side, how are you going to take care of your grass on that side? And who's to say just because you go somewhere else that you could start, right? So as mentioned, he's the second player to hit the transfer portal along with Jaheim Otis. I think on the transfer portal side now, look, you got to be able to go from the defensive side after this season. I would imagine that more guys hit the transfer portal, but I wish that guys would announce that they're hitting the transfer portal after the season has completed rather than like during the season. I think it causes a distraction. I really do. But Jahad Campbell, you heard him yesterday talking to the team reporters. He's like, if you want to be with us, excuse yourself out, right? Like, there's the door. Go ahead. But we got a job to do, and that is to focus on Oklahoma. When you look at the position, and by the way, I'm going to take calls today. So let me finish up my segment. I'll probably go like, I don't know, 20 to 30 minutes on my opening. And then on the back end, I'll take you guys' calls, because there's a lot to talk about. So if you look at the depth for the wolf position right here, this is why I think it's a little bit more impactful than I want it to be. I would probably say it's like a 4 or 5 in terms of the impact, in terms of the depth, right? Because now you have Quay Rusaw, who, by the way, is fantastic. He was the starter at the beginning of the season, and he was basically like the starter with Q-Rob. Q-Rob out with the arm injury, so he's done for the year. But Rusaw, I think a lot of people forget that he's a redshirt freshman because he's so talented. And he'll hold steady. And look, injuries happen. It's a part of the game. We understand this. But now when you start looking at like the depth here at this critical position, you see Quay, and then you see Yanzi Pierre, who's only played in 74 snaps this season. Look, Yanzi Pierre is ready, 1,000,000%. He will step up. We will probably be talking more about Yanzi Pierre within the next couple of weeks, more than we've ever talked about him. Just get ready. But, you know, who knows what the future holds. But if one of these other guys has to step out, then you're looking at Noah Carter stepping in. Just a freshman, more like probably a sophomore towards the back end of the season. but he hasn't had a lot of playing time. In fact, I haven't even seen him on defense. I think his 2 tackles are on special teams. But you see what I'm saying? The depth right here isn't that deep. And I think going forward, the teams that are going to win or at least compete in the semifinals and further than that for a championship are going to be the teams that can weather these type of storms. Right? Alabama, despite Q-Rob getting injured, Keanu dipping out to the transfer portal. You still have Quay Rusa and Yanzi Pierre. Not all programs can say that. That's another thing. If you compare the depth on this team or the teams in the SEC compared to like a Boise State or a BYU, and we'll get to that later, it's not the same. These are to be honest, all these players are probably the same talent level. Q-Rob has the most experience, but there's not like a glaring difference between a lot of these guys. I mean, Noah Carter because he just got here. But Yanzi Pierre, he is ready. I promise you, he's ready to play. But I think it's a little bit more impactful just from a depth situation with Keanu dipping out. But we've seen guys step up this season, and it's going to continue to happen. So now you have Q-Rob out with the injury, Keanu hitting the transfer portal, Jaheim hitting the transfer portal, Cole Adams out for the season, Keon Sabb out for the season. Alabama's been able to replace each of those positions and is actually playing the best level of football that they've been playing. I mean, Keanu didn't play against LSU, didn't play against Mercer. Only had like a tackle or something like that against Missouri. So you move on, you move forward. The college football playoffs, the bracket was updated last night. Every single Tuesday, I know it. You know what? My first thing is it's very confusing how ESPN releases the rankings and the seedings. Very confusing. What they should do, and I think going forward, I don't know if they can do this because the conferences might get upset. But let me spend a little bit of time on this because this is really bothering me. The rankings are not the same as the seedings. So the rankings are on the far left: Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Indiana. That is how the ranking committee has the teams ranked. But based off the playoff rules and the fact that you have to make every conference happy, you have a Boise State sitting at number 4. And you have a Tennessee as the first team out. This is ridiculous. If you want to rank the teams, make that the rankings for the tournament bracket. Fans for Alabama, I saw on my Facebook page, they're like, yeah, we're ranked 7th in the rankings. But we're 9th and going to South Bend in the playoffs. Rank the teams how they're supposed to be ranked. And if there's not a group of 5, or if the Big 12 is not playing up to the level of the rest of the field, I'm sorry, you don't make the playoffs. Schedule tougher teams. Yo, if you want to be BYU and you want to play in the Big 12 or Boise State and you can schedule out of conference games, go schedule Tennessee, schedule South Carolina, schedule Missouri, schedule Alabama. Because how the playoffs are working right now, and look, I love the 12-team format. I love it. I think 12 teams, I think it's great. But in terms of how you have to have a group of 5 or a conference champ have a quarterfinal bye, it's ridiculous. I'm not going to lie. I think that Ohio State, they at this point in time, and if they beat Indiana, yeah, I would say they maybe deserve a quarterfinal spot. You know, they brought it up yesterday that Texas hasn't beaten a top 25 team. People are in love with Texas. But I just don't think, I mean, if you're going to rank the teams, then rank it accordingly to the bracket. I mean, is there anyone out there? Look, Boise, you've had an amazing season. But really, a number 4? And the first team out is poor Tennessee, who finishes tied probably in the SEC, and they're out of the playoffs. There's going to be a 5-way tie for number 2 if things hold out. If no one gets upset, there'll be a 5-way tie for number 2 in the SEC. But Boise State and BYU, because they're conference champions from conferences that are less talented as the other conferences, they have to make it in. It doesn't make sense to me. So that's my deal on the college football playoffs. If Alabama was to play Notre Dame, as I said on the YouTube short this morning, Alabama would beat Notre Dame by, 17 points or whatever at South Bend. Ohio State would absolutely do whatever they wanted to against BYU. Georgia would beat Penn State, and Ole Miss would beat Indiana. That's what would happen. So that's how I'm viewing the college football playoffs right now. This particular bracket right here would set up really well for Alabama. Again, this is not the final bracket. You understand this. We still have a couple weeks, and this is rat poison. I'm sure Coach Kalen DeBoer is not even letting this into the locker room. This is rat poison. This is where you're going to the playoffs. No. You're not going to the playoffs. You're going to Norman, Oklahoma. And if Norman, Oklahoma beats you, you're done. You're going to, the Sun Bowl in El Paso. I uploaded the Brett Venables press conference. Watch it. He knows every single thing about Alabama football. He does. And by the way, I saw on the internet that his wife battling cancer. So prayers up to him and his family. He seems like a good guy. I always had respect for him for the defensive component from what he did at Clemson. I thought that he really was overshadowed by Dabo Swinney. How could you not be? But he's done a really good job on the defensive side of the ball. Offense is a whole different story. They're ranked like 120th in offense or something like that, and they've allowed 41 sacks this season. So we'll talk about more Alabama versus Oklahoma, but I think Alabama right now favored at 14. I take them by much more. Again, rat poison. Trying to see what else I have. Look, I think a team like Indiana, if they lose by a gaping margin to Ohio State, I think they should be kicked out. They don't even have a win over a top 25 team. Neither does Texas. Look, I get the college football playoff transcripts. The playoff football transcripts happen after the playoff show, okay? And the playoff committee takes questions from the media. Stay with me. They asked about Tennessee. Why is Tennessee your first team out? You know what they said? Because they just lost. That should bring terror into everybody because they didn't say schedule of strength. They didn't say record in conference. They said that you just lost. You know what? Why even be a part of the SEC conference, or why even be a part of the ACC or the big? You know what the loophole is to get in the playoffs? Do what Notre Dame's doing. If Tennessee was not part of the SEC and they played a light schedule and didn't play anybody, they'd be in the playoffs. They'd be like, well, we're not in the conference. We don't care about going to the quarterfinals. We just want in, and we haven't played anybody. Why even be a part of the conference? You know what's happening? If you play in the SEC, you're actually being punished. Sure, you get all the TV rev, but for the playoffs, you're actually being punished, and it's harder to be in the SEC and make the playoffs than it is as an independent team. If you're an independent team and you don't play anybody and you're pretty good, you get into the playoffs easy. 100%. I appreciate you guys thinking about becoming a fan funder on Bama Football on YouTube. We'll drop the link continually inside the comment box and underneath this video as well. $2.99. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for the super chats as well. You guys support me. I'm not like a salary type guy. I don't work for one of the big organizations. I am literally just a YouTube guy. One time someone told me they're like, you're just a YouTuber. Yeah, that's it. Just a YouTuber. But guess what? Federal taxes paid. State taxes paid. 2 kids taken care of. Pay your taxes. And people are like, well, you're from New Mexico. I've lived here for 8 years. Trust me, the state of Alabama, they know where I live. I appreciate you. What's up, Carl, Max, Brian, Josh, Army, Brian? Thank you guys for being here up in the chat. All right. I'm going to take you guys' calls here in a little while. Let me run through this. So this is the college football rankings 1 through 8, and I have another graphic that shows you the rest of the rankings. Let's start with Oregon right now. The Oregon Ducks, led by quarterback Dylan Gabriel. Really good team. I like the coach, Dan Lanning. I think he has that fire in the belly. Their quality win is beating Ohio State in Oregon. Next up, they have Washington, and then the big championship game. This team has a lot of offense. I would probably question their defense, but a lot of weapons on the offensive side. Do you see Oregon as a true contender right now to win the college football championship? Right now, Oregon, are they a true contender, or do you think they are a pretender? Type C for contender and type P for pretender on Oregon. I knew the quarterback could spin it. He's good. Tough place to play at. Ready to come into the big conference and compete. They've done that. They're undefeated. The only question mark that I have right now for Oregon is what happened against Wisconsin, because Alabama beat the absolute brakes off Wisconsin. And Oregon is not penalized for keeping it close with Wisconsin. Could you imagine if Alabama, you know what will happen? If Alabama goes to Norman, Oklahoma, and the game is somewhat close, they'll be penalized. But Oregon can play Wisconsin close. Just saying. All right, next up. Ohio State. The big game against Indiana in the college football game of the weekend. Then they have Michigan, their rival. I'm going to ask you the same question. Is Ohio State a contender or a pretender? Type C for contender, type P for pretender. Ryan Day, guy doesn't win big games. He'll win this one. Quarterbacks above average. Very dynamic wide receivers. Very dynamic running backs. Pretty good defense. Seen him play a couple times. They have guys with big playability, kind of similar to Alabama. They have a freshman wide receiver, very similar to what Alabama has. They don't have the same type of quarterback. Have a lot to play for. It's just Ryan Day is not known for winning big games down the stretch. Indiana, Michigan. I've got Michigan rivalry game. We all know how rivalry games are, but this isn't the same Michigan team. I'm not going to lie. I would love to see Oregon and Ohio State in a rematch of the big championship. And I think you're right, Army. They do have a really good roster. I'm going to list Oregon as a contender. Next up, Texas. Did you know this about the Texas Longhorns? The Texas Longhorns have not beaten a top 25 team this season. Did you know that? Very good quarterback. Very good running back. Really good wide receivers. Really good defense. Great athletes. This is the team that Texas has been waiting for. Texas feels that they have arrived, and maybe they have. Steve Sarkisian, one of my favorite coaches. He's got the fire in the belly. He's cut from Nick Saban. Texas should pay him the first billion-dollar contract if they can keep him. Let me ask you this. Is Texas a contender or are they a pretender? Have we been patting them on the back too much? If you think that Texas is a contender, type C. If you think they're a pretender, type P. I think we can all agree that we like Steve Sarkisian. I still feel that he is the best offensive coordinator here at the University of Alabama. And I know there's been a lot to go over, even Lane's up there, but Steve Sarkisian was that guy. Okay, I'm going to lump these two teams together. Penn State and Indiana. Pretenders or contenders? You better be typing P. Thing with Penn State in Indiana, I can't even believe they're up here. James Franklin had an opportunity to do something that he hasn't done in quite some time and win a big game. He failed to do that at Happy Valley, losing to Ohio State. Even what did they spot him, like 14 points, 10 points? I do like Indiana's quarterback. I just don't think that they're going to beat Ohio State. And if they do, then I'll be wrong. It'll be the first time I've been wrong. I just do not feel that Indiana beats Ohio State. Game is in Columbus. Come on. Were they, like, Ohio State's favorite were like 12, right? All right. I'm going to lump these two teams together as well. Notre Dame in Miami. Contenders or pretenders? I keep saying this. Notre Dame figured out a loophole to get into the college football playoffs, and that's not playing the conference and have a light schedule. Quality win? Yeah, Texas A&M. Okay. Navy, is that their second best win? Oh, they also lost to Northern Illinois. Next up, Army. Then they got USC. Sometimes that's a weird rivalry game. Anybody thinking Miami is a contender? I love their quarterback. Cam Ward is that guy. I've seen that guy play. Late game windows, all the money. Pretty good wide receivers, like the coach, Mario Cristobal. Miami's not it. They're a pretender. Top 10 team? I don't know. I don't even know about that. Because I think some of the teams in the SEC will beat Miami. I think Tennessee will beat Miami. I think that maybe like a team like South Carolina, who I've been talking a lot about, could beat Miami. I think a team like Ole Miss could beat Miami. Georgia versus Miami, stop. We've seen the ACC and the SEC play before in late game windows. Number 9, Ole Miss. Number 10, Georgia. Ole Miss has a late season victory over Georgia, which was absolutely impressive. Being able to beat Georgia absolutely gets respect. It's probably the biggest win for Lane Kiffin that he's had. Right? Week later, you get Caleb Cunningham to flip. Things are going well for Ole Miss. The quarterback, Jackson Dart, he's great. Next up, Florida, which I think will be a challenging game. Florida's playing a little bit better towards the back end of the season on that gauntlet of a schedule they have. And then they have Mississippi State. Here comes Georgia. They got UMass and they got to tangle with Brent Key and I guess a team that can punch above their belt in Georgia Tech. But the play of Carson Beck is going to dictate their season, right? Boise State, amazing running back. The schedule of strength, not there. Not having it. BYU, you just lost. You're still in the playoffs. I'm not happy about it. I think Colorado will beat BYU if those two teams are to meet. Tennessee, if this team if Nico was in maybe year 2 or year 3, it'd be interesting to see where Tennessee is. I'm telling you, as much as we don't like Rocky Top, if they continue to play high-level defense and they can build around this quarterback and he can develop Tennessee's, they're going to win a lot of football games. Josh Heupel, who would have thought he's the guy? Out of all the coaches that they have, Josh Heupel's doing an amazing job at Tennessee. I think we can all agree on that. Tough to handle. They've beaten Alabama the last 2 times Alabama's went up to Knoxville. Think about that. SMU, have a chance to compete for the ACC championship game. Who would have thought they just run into the ACC and be up at the top, even though they're still ranked behind Miami. And then you have Colorado on the rise under Coach Prime. He's got that program on the map, 100%. Next up, Kansas and Oklahoma State. If they win those 2 games, they'll play BYU for the Big 12 championship game. Winner gets a spot at the table in the college football playoffs. Let's talk about Jalen Milroe this season in terms of a mock draft. All right, I want some feedback here. I've been asking this a couple times this week. Do you think that Jalen Milroe is drafted in the first round? Yes or no? Type Y inside the comment box for yes. Type N for no. Do you think that Jalen Milroe is drafted in the first round of the NFL draft? I'm going to say yes. I think you have Mel Kiper taking him the third quarterback off the board behind Shadori Sanders, and Cam Ward. If Jalen Milroe can keep play steady throughout the remainder of the season, and he has a really good showing at the combine, which of course he will, and there's teams in the NFL that desperately need quarterbacks. He's very likable. He's a leader. He handles himself with absolute class. He was just clocked at running at 22 miles per hour versus LSU, one of the highest quarterback ratings in college football. He's improved on his deep ball. We have him under the microscope, so we know all the bad passes that he's had. Has he been inaccurate? Yes. Has he hit on big plays? Yes. Is he the toughest player to stop in all of college football? In my opinion, yes. 15 passing touchdowns, 17 rushing touchdowns. Yo. If you follow the NFL, would you be happy if Jalen Milroe was drafted to your team? If you need a quarterback, I think you're saying absolutely. Alabama takes on Oklahoma this coming Saturday, favored by 14. Game will be on ABC at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. That third point that I have on the screen is Oklahoma has allowed 41 sacks this season. That's a stat that absolutely blows my mind. That's the most in college football. I think Jahar Campbell absolutely eats. I think Quay Rusa absolutely eats. I think that'll be the difference in the game. I think you continue to see Alabama's defense continue to play high-level football. It's amazing they've only allowed 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals in the last 12 quarters of play. I told you yesterday that the rat poison already went into my brain, and I've been all on board with Alabama dropping the hammer on Oklahoma. And I understand road games are tough. You have to go over there to win the game. The only thing that kind of slowed me down a little bit was listening to Brett Venables talk about Alabama's team. He has studied this team. He understands what makes this team go. He knows the challenge at hand. They've went through some adversity this season, especially in the last several weeks, right? They had to fire their offensive coordinator, dropped a big game against Texas, dropped a game against South Carolina, lost to Ole Miss, and that's a tough schedule right there. The poor Maine Bears got caught up. That's been their only win over the last, since September. And then they just lost probably a game they felt they should have won against Missouri, 30-23. Do they still have pride in performance following an open week to prepare for Alabama? You hear what I just said? They had an open week, so 2 weeks to prepare for the Crimson Tide. Head-to-head, when you look at Alabama versus Oklahoma, you see that Alabama's ranked 30 on offense. Oklahoma, this will be the difference. Think about how well Alabama's defense is playing right now at this point in time. They're coming around. Guys stepping up. Oklahoma's offense is ranked 117th in the country. Now, on defense, they have pretty good defense. Best defense that they've seen since Missouri. That's fact. But you see Alabama's offense continuing to improve. The only thing that is more crazy than Oklahoma being 117 on offense is Alabama being 128 in penalties. 128 in penalties. I guess it doesn't matter. They're still winning games and playing the best football. It comes out to like 9 penalties per game. We'll set the penalty total between Alabama and Oklahoma at 14. Total penalties in the game, 14. And I'm taking the over all day long. All right, let me run through a couple things. I'll get to your guys' calls. Alabama absolutely on the rise. 39 points per game, which is 8th in the nation. Total offense, nearly 440 per game, 30th in the nation. Pretty balanced approach. 246 passing, 191 rushing. We continue to see the rushing game rise. Total defense, 324 per game, 32 in the nation. Third down defense improving. There for a while, it was getting pretty dicey. Biggest stat right here is 24 forced turnovers. 3rd in the nation. That is championship level football. Championship level football is that stat I just said right there. 24 first turnovers. Give the offense the ball. Let Jalen Miller do his thing. Work the offense. You're going to win a lot of games if you continue to force turnovers. Alabama basketball in action tonight against the Fighting Illini. I love it. Illinois 3-0 on the season. Alabama 3-1 following a loss against Purdue. Teams from the Big Ten can absolutely bank 100%. Same thing with the teams from the ACC. Basketball-wise, those teams are good. Leading scorer right now for the Alabama Crimson Tide, Mark Sears, 17.3 points per game. The big Clifford Amore, 7.8 rebounds per game. And LeBaron Philon, if you haven't seen this young man, he is absolutely it. He's the true freshman that you've been waiting to see. This guy's it, 100%. Jarvis has it as Alabama as a 8.5-point favorite over Illinois tonight. This will be a great game. So if you're around and you can watch this game, definitely do it. And yeah, regarding the loss against Purdue, I don't see it as, oh my goodness, this team isn't as good as we thought they're going to be. Yes, they are. This team is better than you think they're going to be. When they start finding their rhythm and when they start finding their lineup and guys off the bench and when they get hot and when they start playing their best basketball, this basketball team can go as – look, if there was ever a year for Alabama to win basketball and football, this is it, okay? LeBaron Philon, yeah, LeBaron Phenom. I like that. No, this basketball team's good. Just let this season go because this schedule, they might drop a couple more before Christmas. But you got to be able to play a tough schedule if you want to be able to win the SEC and be able to compete in March. Plain and simple. Still got, some very difficult teams down the stretch. Here's a look at Alabama. I'll read it out. I imagine the text is pretty small, but you have LeBaron Philon. Last game, he had 18 points and 5 rebounds and 4 assists. Mark Sears, last game, he had 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists. You had Aiden Holloway, 7 points. I like Holloway as well. Latrell Wrightsell, 11 points. He's coming around as well. And then Grant Nelson, last game, 12 points, 11 rebounds. That's a double-double. Grant Nelson is playing the basketball. He's kind of finding his groove earlier than he did last season. Last season, it took him a while to come around, but at 6'11", 230 pounds, Grant Nelson is that guy. I'm all in on Grant Nelson. Last year, I thought he didn't play that well until the later part of the year. Grant Nelson's that guy. He is absolutely fantastic, 100%. And look at all these guys. Chris Youngblood, I think he's still injured. Mo Diabate, love him, what he brings to the table. Off the bench, 6'7", 215 out of Queens. Amore, right, the transfer from Rutgers. He had 4 blocks in that last game along with 7 boards and 7 points. Jaren Stevenson, really good. He had 15 minutes in that last game. And then Aiden Sherrill, 2 minutes in that last game. The basketball team, this is it. This will be a great game tonight. Byron, what's up, man? I see your comment inside the comment box. Appreciate you being here, bro. All right. Before I take your calls, let me talk about Michael Carroll. I have no intel if this guy will flip, if this guy will be another guy that we're, seeing go somewhere else. No idea. Michael Carroll just visited Colorado in Boulder. Is it something to be concerned about? Probably so. You have Coach Prime, who's probably one of the hottest coaches in college football. At 6'6", 315 pounds, he's committed to Alabama. He's a 5-star, and he's the number 14 overall player in the nation. He's enrolled at the IMG Academy. He's from Pennsylvania. Colorado needs linemen desperately. Considering that Colorado is now on the map, favorite to win the Big 12, and has probably 2 guys that are going to go in the top 5 of the NFL draft, Shadori Sanders and Travis Hunter. Coach Prime has a lot that he can sell you on. I think for Coach Kalen DeBoer, he has Coach Kapilovic, head of the Juice Box squad, is fantastic offensive line coach. Probably the best offensive line coach that Alabama's had since Kyle Flood. I have no idea when Michael Carroll would be able to play here in terms of the depth, but I think probably sooner than later. If you've seen Michael Carroll play, he is it. I know Michael Carroll is coming back to Tuscaloosa in Auburn for the Auburn game, for the Iron Bowl. And I haven't heard any of the big guys out there like a Andrew Bone or a Steve Whitfong say that they're worried that he's going to flip. Until you start seeing those top-level recruiting guys say that to be concerned, don't be concerned. Those guys are absolutely 1,000,000% dialed in. If I'm Coach Kalen DeBoer and I'm Coach Kapilovic, I'm selling this. I'm like, look, every single day you get an opportunity to compete against the best in the country, right? If you're an inside guard like Michael Carroll, you get to go against future NFL guys, right? That's what I'm selling on every single day. And it takes a while. Look, it takes so much time to get on the field at Alabama. It might take you a year, might take you two seasons, might take you longer. But if you can be patient and if you can play here, people are going to recognize and your NFL draft stock is going to fly up. Just take some time. But in terms of Michael Carroll flipping, I haven't seen it, haven't heard it. All I know is that he visited Colorado, and I'm sure he had an amazing time. If you've been to Boulder, Colorado, who hasn't had a good time there? It's beautiful, right? Beautiful campus. Colorado's an amazing state. But I haven't heard anything like a flip or anything like that. So stay tuned to your recruiting sites as they probably have a lot more information. But it's something to watch for sure because I think, losing Caleb Cunningham, despite it being a 5-star, not a big impact because you have all these receivers. Turbo Rogers, didn't think he was going to play anytime soon. Dawson Merritt kind of put him in the same, category. But with the Michael Carroll, that would be significant. 100%. Hey, Ephraim, appreciate you, man. Thanks for being a fan funder for 10 months. That's what's up, man. Thank you very much for supporting the product. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, let's open up the phone lines. I appreciate you guys being patient, letting me get through my opening segment this morning on Wednesday, November 20th. Thank you so much, man. What's up, Run the Table Sports? I appreciate you being here. We got the phone lines open now. It's at the bottom of the screen. We got a 417. Thanks for being patient. We'll start off the line right now. Hey, thanks for calling in. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, it's Timothy. I'm calling in from Missouri.
Timothy, what's up, man? I appreciate you joining the show. Welcome on in, man, and take it away.
Yes, sir. I was looking at the football rankings last night. I'm not a big fan of it whatsoever. Paul Feinbaum, Stephen A. Smith, and I think Shannon Sharp even said this thing is going to last like 2 years and it's going to be a 16-team playoff because it's going to be hectic because the SEC championship won't even mean nothing. The freaking Big Ten championship, other championships won't really mean anything right now because of the automatic buys and all that. So they're like making all these like assumptions with all that crap. But I have a hot take on a few teams. I think if Texas loses to Texas A&M, they're out of the playoffs. That's just what I think. And I believe Texas A&M is gonna beat Texas because of Marcel Reed, what he can do with his legs. Because I don't think Texas has faced anybody like that other than Diego Pavia, and they almost lost. And he is not nearly the athlete that Marcel Reed is. So I believe Texas A&M will beat Texas, and it'll be Texas A&M and Bama for the SEC championship. Because if you're a Bama fan, you kind of want Texas A&M to, in the SEC championship. You kind of want them because you know what they did against LSU and what we did against LSU too. Yeah. Because our common opponent is LSU and what we both did to them. So I think Texas A&M would be out. I think Tennessee would be in because of Texas being kicked out. I think Indiana's out because they're going to get Wally stomp against Ohio State this weekend. BYU is going to get whooped by Arizona State. So I believe it'll be Colorado and Arizona State for the Big 12 title. And I got Arizona State winning. They're highly disrespected this year. I thought they were horrible because they lost like their first 2 games, I think. But they are starting to click at the right time. They're starting to their defense is getting better every week. So I got Arizona State and the BY and Colorado. But man, Notre Dame is horrible. Their schedule, like they got to fix Notre Dame, dude. Like with them being independents, they cannot have that anymore.
Yep.
They got to join ACC, Big Ten, SEC. I don't care. Let them join the ACC. They're not going to be 10-2 every year. They're going to be like 9-3, 8-4, because they got some good teams over there. Like Miami would probably beat them. I don't know for sure, but they're pretenders. For the Alabama and Oklahoma game, I got Alabama winning. You know, they are clicking perfectly at the time you want them to have style points. You want them to have their defense showing up and their offense clicking. This is the best time to do it.
Yep.
So I got them winning 48-13, maybe 12, because I don't see them scoring a touchdown. I got Alabama running away with it, and I got Alabama going in the SEC championship game against Texas A&M and getting the first round bye. So that's my opinion. That's what I believe. That's my prediction right now. So.
All right, man. Good call. Thank you for leading off, man. I appreciate the call, Timothy. Appreciate it, man. Be safe.
Thank you, too.
All right. Good points to hit on. I think a couple things from Timothy's call out in Missouri. He's on the road. Texas A&M losing, or Texas A&M beating Texas. Who wins that game, in your opinion? Type T for Texas and type T for Texas A&M. Just kidding. Type T for Texas and type A&M inside the comment box based on who you think will win that matchup. It brings up a good point. It's saying A&M has a running quarterback. Texas only faced one really dynamic quarterback, I guess, that can move around, which was Diego Pavia. That game was close up in Nash Vegas, right? He has Alabama versus Texas A&M in the championship game. Well, a lot of people taking A&M. You know, it'd be interesting about that. You have first-year coach Mike Elko taking on first-year coach Kalen DeBoer, right? He has Indiana out if they get beat by Ohio State. Love that. Agree with that. BYU out if they lose another game, right? And then that kind of makes way for another team from the SEC, I think, to jump in. He has Notre Dame, you know, same thing what I was saying, found a loophole to get into the playoffs. In the beginning, he said that Feinbaum and company saying that pretty soon it'll just be 16 teams, 100%. I think that's what we're moving to, unfortunately, because they're never going to be able to rank the teams just straight up 1 through 12 because you have to make the conference champions happy in order for those conferences to agree to keep moving to these formats. All right, next up, we have a 865. We got Angel calling in for Pigeon Forge. Angel, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here, man. Come with it.
Yes. So first of all, I want to tell you a story real quick about when I was a kid. I actually went to the Oklahoma game in 2002 when they played Oklahoma, and Bama lost that game. It was like 37-27, and the year after that, they lost in Tuscaloosa 20-13. So I really like this matchup because, one, I want to get revenge for what they did a long time ago. It was a close game, both games, mind you. But I really, because I remember it was windy that day. It was breezy and all that. It's a great environment to be in. It's hostile.
Yeah.
Especially in that environment. But in particular, though, I really like to see this Alabama team play both sides of the ball against Oklahoma because, let's face it, Oklahoma, they're not good offensively or defensively. They're kind of like banged up. They're like Auburn, basically, in their first season. But with that being said, I really think Alabama defense will feed against Oklahoma and Jackson Arnold because, you know, both quarterbacks ain't that good. You probably saw them play this season. They're not any good. And I think Bama runs the table against them pretty easily. Maybe like 60 at least to 16. 60-16 is my prediction when they beat them by 50-plus points because
Wait,
Oklahoma.
Did you just say, Angel, did you just say 60 to – do you think they'll score 60 points?
Yeah, I will. Yes. Oklahoma is just not that good.
Okay.
They're a pretender. Like, they're not any good. But I think Alabama will feast against Oklahoma. And this is the game I'm looking forward to this year for being a nighttime game. And what's your thoughts on that with the history of Alabama playing Oklahoma in 2002 and 3?
I don't.
So like 22 years or whatever.
I don't think that that history has anything to do with. I'm one of those guys that doesn't think like far out history has anything to do with like the present. But I do agree with you on the points you made regarding that Oklahoma, regarding their offense, is going to really struggle against Alabama's defense. And I think same thing, even though they do have the number 23 defense in the country, Alabama is starting to fine tune on offense and on defense specifically. So I think what we're starting to see within the last 3 games is them kind of going more towards this all out, kind of a heavy run attack. And if that's just feeding Milroe on design quarterback runs and hitting you over the top when you think that's coming again, that's going to be the offense. But I've showed you the stats before. I mean, what Milroe's been able to do, this season, there hasn't been a lot of teams that can stop it. And until you do, why change it? So Kalen DeBoer, Jalen Milroe, Nick Sheridan, I mean, look at the stats right there, right? Almost 3,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, 120 rushing attempts. Compare that to Jam Miller. Jam Miller only has 90 rushing attempts, right? And plus he's running.
This will be a blowout.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I'm taking a blowout for sure. Anything else you want to hit on, Angel?
I think the running backs will do pretty well in this game. Let's just be real. Oklahoma's not ready. Like, I've seen Brett Venables. He's scared right now on the skin of his teeth because what he has to face Saturday, because it's going to be a reality check for him in Oklahoma. But they're going to get annihilated, not just obliterated. They're going to get annihilated. They'll lose their whole recruiting class probably against Alabama. People flipping, decommitting. This is going to be a huge loss for Brett Venables in this first season. But anyway, Kyle, you have a good day, man. Roll Tide. I know you got other people calling in. I just want to let you know how I feel about that game.
All right, appreciate you, man. Maybe we'll hear you on the coaching. Maybe we'll hear you on the coaching show tonight.
Oh yeah, maybe.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Maybe if I can get a call in.
Right.
Roll Tide, man.
All right, Roll Tide. All right, that was Angel from Pigeon Forge. Don't forget, you got the Hey Coach show each Wednesday night, part of the Crimson Tide Sports Network. They put that on Wednesday. I think it starts around like 6 p.m. And you have Alabama basketball. So a lot going on tonight. 202, you're up next. Hey, thanks for calling in. You're on line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on line with and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, you actually know me. This is Zach from Norman, Oklahoma, actually. I'm your Norman, Oklahoma connection.
All right.
I called a few times last year.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be apropos to it since this is Oklahoma week. So
Love it. I appreciate you being here, Zach. Thank you, man. Come with it. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, first off, I would love nothing more than to see Alabama crush Oklahoma. I mean, I know how this school does student loan debt collecting. I'm a victim of that here. I do not like this school. I've got to tell you, though, I got to bring some people a little closer to reality. This is going to be a war. I'm telling you. Now, just because I say it's going to be a war does not mean that Alabama may not end up blowing them out, but they're going to get Oklahoma's best shot. I'm going to tell you something. Any Alabama fan, if you're going to Norman this weekend, go to the Walmart on I-35. Go into the TV section where all the TV screens are there for sale and everything. The game that you're going to see is going to be the Sugar Bowl, the 2014 Sugar Bowl on every single TV. They've been playing that for 10-plus years straight, nonstop. Anytime you go into that store, it's that game playing on every single television screen that's for sale there. I mean, Bob Stoops, when he was here, he really bashed that Kool-Aid in of the anti-SEC, anti-Bama rhetoric. Now, I know there's different players there, different coaches there, but it's that mentality in this town, and I think it's similar with Georgia, too, that you are going to get their best shot. And there's other things in addition to that. The Brent Venables' job could very well be on the line. I know they're not saying that publicly. They're saying they support Venables. Trust me, you know how that goes. I mean, his if he has a good performance against Bama, he's got more job security. And if he beats one of these next two teams, Alabama or LSU, he's got better job security, and it helps with recruiting. Also, the Sooners bye week, like you mentioned, okay, they've had a week to sit in their little labyrinth and prepare stuff. I think that supports their offense. Their offense is going to be scripting stuff, coming up with stuff that we probably haven't seen, similar to what happened in 2014 when they had a month to prepare with a very mediocre quarterback, Trevor Knight, who lit the Bama defense up in that game. Again, I'm not trying to make comparisons to 10 years ago, but this is what's going on in their head. And it's senior night there, of course, because they're next, I believe, they're playing on the road at LSU, so it's their senior night. I mean, you're going to get their best shot. I guarantee that. Now, again, whether their best shot ends up being a close 30-24 game or a Bama 42-10 blowout, I don't know. But all I'm saying is I don't, however they played against Ole Miss, teams that they got crushed by South Carolina, don't try to equate that. You're going to see a different – you're going to wonder who is in those Oklahoma uniforms because they're going to – especially the first half of the game before they maybe get tired, especially on offense. I wouldn't be surprised if we go into this thing and it's a 6-3 game. You know, I really wouldn't. Maybe Bama up by field goal. Now, I think on the chat, I'm Bill effing Murray on the chat, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know that.
I love that name, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm a huge Bill Murray fan. Huge. You know, he was born in 84 when Ghostbusters was huge. I mean, a huge Bill Murray fan. So I think he deserves utmost respect. If you don't like him, I'm sorry. But anybody who doesn't. But yeah, I think I said 30-24. I was thinking leaning towards the final score for that game. Okay, I'll maybe revise that slightly. I'll maybe go Alabama 34, OU 23. And I know the first thing people are going to think 23 is way too high for Oklahoma. I don't think in this case it is. I really don't. I think they're going to score on us a little bit. So, but I do think we got the better athletes. I do think we got the better team this year, and I do think we're going to grind out the win. But I'm not seeing the super epic blowout that people are thinking. And I'd love to be wrong. And if I am, I will say I'm so glad I was wrong. But yeah, that's really all about I've had to say. I just wanted to give my thoughts, especially being here.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Well, thanks for calling in, Bill effing Murray, man. Love Caddyshack. And yeah, Caddyshack is hilarious. So thanks for the call, and I think it's a good call. Honestly, I think all these calls will probably be a rat poison for Oklahoma or reverse rat poison. But thanks for calling in, man. I'll catch up with you next time. Thanks for the support.
Yeah, somebody needed to go against the grain a little here. So
I like it.
So, all right.
Thanks for calling in. Roll Tide to you, Bill effing Murray. It sounded like ghosts were coming in on the back end of that call, like from Ghostbusters. The original Ghostbusters, I like those, and I do. Bill Murray, yeah, he's got a lot of films under his belt. Okay, next up we go to the 531. Hey, how's it going? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Brad from Omaha calling in today. How we doing, Kyle?
Brad, what's up, man? I appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining the show. We got Brad from Omaha. What's up, man?
Not much, man. It's cold up here. It's around 40 degrees. It's a very chilly morning, but it's a beautiful day to wake up and say, roll Tide.
That's right. Yeah. Omaha, it's going to be cold this coming weekend for Tuscaloosa finally. What cold means over here right now is like 50. I've gotten so soft from living out here because in New Mexico, when I lived out there, it's high elevation, right? I've lived in Iowa, I lived in D.C., so I've lived cold places. But over here, I got so soft. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. But yeah, 40, no thank you. I know it's coming. So anyways, Brad, welcome in from Omaha. Come with it, man.
Yeah, so I love all the calls I've been getting. I want to touch on the college football playoff rankings, and I want to give you a scenario. And this is not completely crazy. There is a chance the SEC can get 5 teams in, but there has to be some chaos within the other conferences to get them there. Here's the scenario that I'm playing out. Notre Dame has to beat Army, but they have to lose to USC. Get two teams out the paint. Notre Dame's gone. Army's gone. What else do you need to happen? You need Clemson to win the ACC. If Clemson wins the ACC championship game, that could either eliminate the ACC altogether, or it just gets the possibility of two teams getting in completely out. And the Big 12 cannot have BYU win its conference. And I think the playoff rankings this week basically told the Big 12, BYU has to win it or you're not in.
Well, Brad, I hear you, but this is my biggest problem with the playoffs right now, is that these conference champions have to make it. So, for example, like if Clemson wins the ACC, they would. The crazy thing is they could even have a bye in the quarterfinals.
Correct.
And if BYU, look, I don't think BYU is. We're going to be talking about BYU. This is probably the most we've said BYU, those three letters consecutively, ever in college football.
Correct.
And look, I'm not a look. I love like the old BYU. You know, like Steve Young, right? There's been some quarterbacks that have come out of BYU, but I just. I think that Colorado wins that conference when all said and done. But I do like the Notre Dame beating Army and then losing to USC. I could see that. I do see these teams probably being removed from playoff consideration. If that was to happen to Notre Dame, Notre Dame loses and they're out. If they're to lose to USC because they don't have a conference to play in. The second thing would be Indiana getting beat badly by Ohio State. So now you have Notre Dame out, right? And then you have Indiana out. And then I don't know what happens to Penn State. I think Penn State's pretty much a lock, let's face it. But that would allow two teams.
I'd say they're locked.
Right? So two teams out. So now you're looking at that. There's your five teams for the SEC, right? Tennessee then jumps in, and you would have Texas, Bama, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Tennessee. That would be your five. If no. So there you go. So all that has to happen for your scenario to happen is Notre Dame losing to USC.
Yes. And I bring up the ACC and the Big 12 because Clemson's done playing its ACC schedule. They could lose the next two games, and they could still make the conference championship. They're done playing the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
So Clemson has a very strong chance to get in. Miami just has to lose one of its final two games.
Yeah.
Which they're not guaranteed to win either one.
Yeah,
I think there's a high percent chance they win, but I don't think they win both. I think they're going to slip up somewhere.
Yeah, they have Wake Forest. They have Wake Forest and Syracuse. Miami probably each of these games probably go into overtime or something like that with Miami.
Right, I think so too. And I think the other thing that has to happen for them to get 5 in is Bama has to win the SEC. And I think they have to play Texas. If Texas A&M gets to the conference championship game, I think it throws a monkey wrench in everything, and there's no chance. Now, in my 4 or 5 teams getting in, I don't really care as long as Alabama gets in.
Sure.
But there is a chance it could happen. I also wanted to touch on the Big 12 race a little bit deeper. I love that BYU got dropped 9 spots, Georgia got dropped 9 spots, and Tennessee somehow only got dropped 5. After they picked up their second loss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If BYU doesn't win the Big 12, I think the Big 12 is completely eliminated. And that could open up the door for a Tulane or an Army to get in. Or another at-large bid. But, again, it would have to be one of these conference championship teams that maybe has a 2 next to them, and got to be a competitive game.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, the conference champions get into the playoffs. So does a group of 5. I don't agree with that because it should just be the top 1 through 12, but you can never get that to pass because the conference champions, wouldn't agree. The conferences wouldn't agree to that. So you're going to have, a Colorado, or you're going to have, you have to have a group of 5, I guess, Boise be in there. So we'll see how it shakes out. But anything else, Brad, before I let you go?
Sure. I wanted to touch on Oklahoma because I know it's Oklahoma week.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see the Sooners on Saturday. I'm going to go early score prediction. I'm going to go 49-10.
49-10.
I think Bama rolls. I love Venables' defense, but I just don't know how his offense does anything.
Yeah.
The main game's kind of smoke and mirrors. I mean, yeah, they put up a big number, but against SEC competition, they've struggled. And it's like you said, they're one of the worst teams in the country in giving up sacks. Defense is going to eat. Just flat out, they're going to eat. So I don't see them scoring more than a touchdown, maybe in garbage time, and I'll give them a field goal before the half. But I just think Bama just rolls.
All right.
I just don't see it. I'd be more scared for Auburn next week than I would Oklahoma at this point.
Yeah, I know. Rat poison. All right. Appreciate the call, Brad. Thanks for calling in, brother.
Yep, roll Tide.
All right,
Thanks, Kyle.
Roll Tide. That was Brad out in Omaha. We go right to Chris in New Jersey. All right, we just hopped on a flight from Omaha, and we just landed in, I guess, Newark. Chris, man, what's up? How's it going? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I was born in Newark, and I live in Montclair, New Jersey, which is a couple miles away, brother. Okay, first of all, the most important thing is there's two kinds of people in the world: those who love Bill Murray and those who lie about loving Bill Murray. So, yeah, I'm going to say it's Wednesday, it's Hump Day, it's Happy Alabama Day. I'm going to say this. My prediction is just win, baby, just win. My score prediction is just win and in. Now, I'm going to say this on a completely personal note. My brother-in-law went to Notre Dame, and he's pretty annoying about that program. And I just want it to stay frozen, Kyle, right with your graph. Please just play Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Notre Dame would get I'm sorry to say this on Wednesday, the can of whoop ass. They have played no one. They cannot play against Alabama up in the cold. And so it would push maybe Milroe to be they cannot stop the run against Milroe, and they can't. And that quarterback is going to get a beat down. So I would just love it to be right there. So but yeah, there's so much up for grabs for this the football playoffs still. Unfortunately, I think Notre Dame's going to struggle against. They probably won't struggle against Army, although that's a hard offense to defend. And John Delaney, who I put on top of our list of vets, he was on Veterans Day. He's going to the game, and he went to Army. So I'm rooting for Army. But they're going to have it's interesting that USC. I think USC could redeem their whole season by beating up Notre Dame the last game of the season. And am I worried about Oklahoma? Kyle, I'm going to be honest with you. I worry about everybody. And they're going to be they're going to be pumped up to everybody's Super Bowls in Alabama. So I just want to win, and of course then the Iron Bowl, got to win to get in. So but I'm excited, and I thought I'd give you a quick midweek call. Keep up the great work. My best to you. My best to Undefeated. Roll Tide, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy. All right. That was Chris calling in from New Jersey. Actually, that's where he said he was close to. All right. It looks like we have 813. It looks like we got Case up in the house. Case, you made it through to the memory bank, man. I appreciate you calling in.
There we go, man. It's that Tampa, baby. It's that Tampa.
That's right.
Hey, speaking of Tampa, we're going to have to go against, I don't like to call him my boy, but Baker Mayfield, I could never stand him back in the day being an Alabama fan and him being in Oklahoma. But, I've been very happy with him over here at the Bucs. He's done a good job. He's been a really good leader, and, he's no Johnny Football, but I appreciate what he's doing. But we're going against him, and I've ate the rat poison on a silver platter. I think we're going to beat Oklahoma fairly. I mean, at least by 14, if not by more. I don't know about 60, like the other caller said. I like the optimism, though. That's some super rat poison, that's for sure. Oklahoma is a hard-hitting team, and they have some good players.
I didn't expect them to be outstanding in the first year in the SEC. But, I mean, it is what it is. But I do think we'll take care of them pretty handedly. I mean, in my opinion, I think Missouri is a better team, and on paper and on stats, and even in some recruiting aspects, like as far as talent, they are a better team. And we shut them out completely. Now, I know they didn't have Brady Cook, and I know there were like 2 defensive players out, but it doesn't change all the coaching and the talent that they have, and we shut them out. So if we can shut a team like Missouri out, I think we can take care of Oklahoma. Of course, we got to play them at Oklahoma. It's a tough environment for sure. But
yeah,
like I said, I ate the rat poison. And everybody's talking about the playoff. I'm going to keep yapping here if you don't mind. I'm not trying to cut you off or anything. But the playoff right now is just not even a concern about the positioning of where we are, because everybody's talking about, you know, how many teams of this are going to get in, or what, you know. As an Alabama fan, if we win out and everybody wins out in positions that we think that they're going to be, just say all the favorites win.
Yeah.
Alabama is going to go to the SEC championship, and we're either going to play against Texas or Texas A&M, unless absolute chaos happens. But we're assuming the favorites win. It all boils down to that Texas A&M game, and I feel confident in either of those teams. I'm not going to turn down the SEC. You know, everyone on that team at the beginning of the season, they said that their goal was to win the SEC. So that's what they want to do. And they're going to, they want to go to the SEC champion. Would you take down a chance to go to Atlanta?
No.
Absolutely not. And so they want to go. I want them to go. And I feel confident. You know, Georgia put the smackdown on Texas, and we put the smack on Georgia, at least in the first half. So I feel confident beating Texas. I feel confident beating Texas A&M. So the positioning doesn't even matter. It matters for the other people in the SEC. Teams like Tennessee, you know, they're already on the, you know, door knocking out, which I think is hilarious. And there may be a chance Vandy beats them, man. I mean, I don't call me crazy, but you know, I seriously, it's any given Saturday in the SEC, and the only other thing for the playoff that I'm looking at is Mr. Fraudulent Dame of Notre Dame. I'm hoping Army beats them this weekend. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I don't think our friends from the Army are able to take down Notre Dame, but I love the call, Case. Thanks for calling in, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, Kyle, crazier things have happened. Remember when they lost North Illinois?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that for sure.
Appreciate it, Kyle.
All right, man.
The next caller. Have a good one.
All right, man. Thanks for the support. Appreciate you. All right. You know, I don't know if you guys just saw this. I just thought of this. Oh, I meant to add it, not like as a topic, but did you see our former Alabama center, Seth McLaughlin? You see what happened to him? Poor dude, tore his Achilles, and he's out the remainder of the season. So from what I understand, he's been having a pretty good season for Ohio State. But now, I mean, look, losing your center at this point in time is not good, right? Imagine you take out Parker Brailsford right now, who's been playing fantastic. That would be impactful to Alabama, 100%. So prayers up for the kid. Look, didn't work out here at Alabama. Looks like it was working out for Ohio State. But now without, you know, their starting center going into you know, especially the game this big. I don't know. Jarvis, has the line moved at all because of one player, the center? I mean, touches the ball every single time they're on offense. I don't know. 513, you're up. Hey, who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle. It's Connor from Cincinnati.
Connor, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you. It's my first time calling in.
Yeah.
Listen, I love the show. That last guy was spitting facts. Listen, this team proves that they can beat anybody in the country. If we play like we did that first half of Georgia, it's lights out. I mean, I'm with him. We want to go to the SEC championship.
Yeah.
I'm not really afraid of Texas. I mean, who have they played besides Georgia?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they lost. And Georgia had to beat the refs as well in that game. So I'm with him. I want to go to the SEC. I think we win the SEC, and we slot ourselves in there with that nice first-round bye. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
What? Let me ask you something. We're on with Connor calling in from Cincinnati. These next upcoming games, you got Oklahoma, you have Auburn.
Yeah.
The last three, even Coach Venables said yesterday during his press conference, he said that Alabama has obliterated their last three opponents. I don't really care who the opponents are. I look at execution in a game like Mercer, execution in a game like Missouri. But what they did against LSU really caught my eye because that was high-level football in Baton Rouge. And I get it. With Brian Kelly and the Tigers, they always seem to fall off the earth at this point in time. But that was a big game with a lot of implications on it. So what have you been impressed with this Alabama football team over the last 3 weeks?
Absolutely, like you said. I mean, I think they're playing their best football right now. Like, we saw LSU. I mean, we kind of dumpstered LSU. They scored that Brian Kelly sent that kid limping out there to score a touchdown at the end.
Sure.
But, I mean, we've just been firing on all cylinders, like, Mizzou, LSU, and then I know it's Mercer, but still, it's not like we came out there and kind of moseyed around and only had, 30 points. I mean, we did what we had to do. So I think we're playing our best football right now. I do think Oklahoma is a bit of a trap game.
Yeah.
It would have worried me, I think, earlier in the season, but I do think this team is locked in. We're playing our best ball right now. So yeah, I think we go to Norman and get the job done. And then Auburn would scare me if it was at Auburn, because we've all seen it, but you know how Auburn is. They're gonna play like the prime New England Patriots.
I know. That's crazy. That's what happens, though. I'm used to it.
Yeah, I think this team is locked in. I think, we've looked good. The defense, you were talking about the turnovers the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. Like, our defense wasn't getting these type of turnovers. So I think we're all a little bit critical of Coach Womack earlier in the season, but hey, this Swarm defense, low-key looking pretty nice now.
Good thing we didn't send him off to Southern Mississippi or wherever we were trying to send him to. Remember, like after week 4 or something like that, we were like, this dude needs to go to Southern Mississippi where his dad was coaching or whatever. No. So, anyways, I appreciate the call, Connor. Yeah, thanks for
the U-Haul back. Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
All right. Thanks
Appreciate
for calling
you.
in, man. Appreciate it. Take it easy. All right. Connor from Cincinnati. All right, 912, you're up next. Hey, thanks for being patient. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on line with and where are you calling in from?
How you doing, Cal? My name is Jermaine Whitehead.
What's up, Jermaine? How you doing? Where are you calling in from, bro?
I'm coming from Mississippi at the moment. Greenwood, Mississippi.
I appreciate you, man. Welcome to the show. Come with it, man.
Yeah, I was just commenting on I don't see nobody in our way but Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I think from my eye test, Alabama is going to win it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm keeping this short and sweet and letting you know roll tide.
All right, roll tide, Jermaine. Call again anytime, man. I appreciate it. Be safe on the road.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Jermaine calling in from Mississippi, keeping it short and sweet, saying, and look, this could be like the short and sweet. It could be absolutely facts. Like, you could tell he's a longtime Alabama fan because the only team that is concerned is Auburn because of the craziness of that game and the fact that Alabama is about to turn into a buzzsaw. Maybe they do run the table here in college football at the end of the season. We'll see what happens with Coach Caitlin DeBoer and his squad as we get into November, which is going to be an action-packed football month. I mean, you look at you have Oklahoma, you have Auburn, and then after that, you have the SEC championship, and then right after that, you have early signing day, which is on December 4th. The transfer portal opens up. Then you start to prepare for the first round of the playoffs. Then you start to prepare for the quarterfinals. Then you start to prepare for the semifinals. I mean, the championship game is way at the back end of January. So the college football season has been extended. Get comfy. We're like a little bit past the midway point, but there's still so much football left to be played. That's why I continue to say depth is going to be of the utmost importance. And that's why I'll go to this last graphic on my kind of exit, is this one right here. With Keanu Koht out in the transfer portal and Q-Rob out with the injury, depth. That is going to be, whoever has the most depth is going to make a real run at the championship. And I think right now, even despite some guys who are out for the season, Alabama is still in prime position in terms of the depth chart. So, hey, I appreciate you guys joining today for my Wednesday show. Today is November 20th. I really hope you have an amazing day. As news happens, I got you covered here at Bama Football on YouTube. Yesterday, it was Keanu Koht. The day before, it was Ivan Taylor. So you get one, lose one. This is the time where all of that happens. So be sure and hit the notifications so you're notified every single time we drop a video. I appreciate you guys so much for being here. Coming to you from beautiful Hollywood, Alabama. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Tonight, Alabama takes on Illinois on the hardwood. Alabama favored by 8. I will catch you guys soon right here on Bama Football on YouTube.